everyone, it's Ella. Welcome back to my YouTube channel. Today I have a special guest,
Abby,
who's going to be asking me questions from you guys about my new film opening, Forever Young, while we'll be doing a BULDAK and Duck Donuts mukbang. If you haven't seen my film opener already, please, I suggest you guys check it out in the description below.
without further ado, let's get started. Okay, first question from I Love Cucumbers 0670. We know that your film falls under the coming of age / teen drama genre, while also having suspense elements. How does it fit with the typical conventions of that genre?
Well, thank you so much. Like many coming of age films, my story centers around teen experience during summer. And after a lot of researching on films like The Summer I Turned Pretty and the movie The Sisterhood of Traveling Pants, and obviously being teens ourselves, my group and I determined that since summer is a transitional period marked by freedom, growth, and self-exploration, setting the beginning of our movie during this season would be the most relatable and impactful for our intended audience. It's because summer represents a break from the routine, you know, the cycle of waking up, going to school, doing work, and after school activities. And at the end of the day, you really have no time to do anything else. But during the summer, teens are able to feel free from this draining reality. And I mean, I would know myself. I always look forward to hanging out with my friends during the summer, which makes the summer the perfect time for emotional development and a good opportunity to film what seems to be a cherishing memory from a group of best friends, like the one in my movie would look back upon. So when it comes to themes of identity and emotional change, throughout the movie opening, this audience sees the main characters navigating feelings and relationships that just feel authentic to teenage life. For example, I think the cinematography really emphasizes realism. It's about friendships shown throughout the movie opening through the natural setting of going to the beach, casual conversations, and everyday interactions like singing in the car and getting froyo. This style of film aligns with many conventions of other successful coming of age movies that avoid fantasy but instead focus on the reality and emotional truth of being a teen, which was honestly our ultimate goal of connecting our audience to the film and then breaking that connection with an unexpected twist.
But how does your film challenge the connections?
Okay, well, our opening is about a memory that a group of friends have before something traumatic happens, right? However, one of the girls in this friend group knows she's going to die, but she doesn't want to tell the rest of the group because she'll feel it'll ruin their last perfect summer. Basically, the rest of the movie will be about the three girls figuring out what happened to their beloved friend, almost like a murder mystery, but we don't really know if the girl dies by murder or not. While many teen films stick to romance and friendship narratives, my film blends coming of age realism with psychological tension. This genre hybrid creates so many emotions that a viewer might feel, and they may feel connected with the character's relatable feeling, then suddenly confronted with uncertainty or even fear, which I think elevates the narrative beyond simple nostalgia.
How about representations of social groups or issues? Any day now.
Okay, well, first of all, my group and I tried to avoid exaggerating stereotypes like dressing our characters to represent full-on nerds or popular girls like the ones you see on Mean Girls. Instead, our characters feel authentic and relatable with the way they look, dress, and act. Like simple summer outfits like a tank top and jean shorts represents the style that our generation wears nowadays. Naturally laughing at one another and doing fun activities with each other shows a more modern and inclusive representation of the teens today. My film not only represents the bright side of teenage friendship, but it also reflects on the reality of teenage life. Isabella, the girl in the movie opening, is portrayed with internal conflicts such as uncertainty, but about whether or not she should tell her friends the truth, or even feeling vulnerable that knowing she's gonna die. Her costuming, which was very different compared to the rest of the characters, displays great foreshadowing of how she feels. I mean, it may be a little cliche to have her dressed in all black, but this builds an unconscious idea to the viewer that something bad is going to happen to this certain character. And unlike many teen films that include external conflicts like fitting in or stereotypical school drama, my film highlights a common conflict that we all share: actually, not even just teens, and it's about hiding our true emotions and our secrets. This shifts the focus from a classic summer teen trope to a more psychological and realistic portrayal of adolescence. The suspenseful twist at the end wasn't just a stylistic choice, but it was intentional to represent how adolescence itself can feel unpredictable and even unsettling.
Next question from Ellie Dango. How does your product engage with audience and how would it be distributed as a real media text? I love the film opening, by the way. Another question that correlates is from Jack Tran. Big fan. I was wondering, how does your project get the audience attention? What will make people stay to watch the whole movie? What will make people go like, wow?
Thank you so much, Ellie and Jack. Well, my movie opening grabs the attention of the audience immediately through the curiosity from the first few seconds of the film. If you don't remember, it was a black screen with a mysterious voiceover that transitioned to an uplifting scene. As the viewers watch the summer memory, as I said, it ends off with almost a cliffhanger, and questions from the viewers would arise, like what happened to that character, or why did the mood shift so suddenly? This sense of wanting to find answers draws its audience in and motivates them to keep watching. And I would say that the audience would stay the entire movie because the opening promises for a deeper narrative, if you get what I mean. Like, this opening hints at a larger storyline with more meaning than just a group of friends. It's about unresolved conflicts, making viewers wanting to stay to follow the character's journey. And I would say the wow factor would be the dramatic reveal at the opening, like the Kesha song fading into heartbeats and an unexpected flatline, which leaves a strong impression and sets expectations for an intense, meaningful film. Now, we're gonna try the duck donuts. Okay, which one do you wanna try first?
That one.
Okay, this one is cookies and cream, I think. Wait, your bite first. Ready? 3, 2, 1. This is good, guys.
Next question from Sir Meals a Lot. He said, I loved watching your movie opening. If you were to film the entire movie, how would you get it out in the movie theaters? How will it be produced, distributed, and marketed?
Okay, well, first of all, we would produce our movie through an independent company, not one of those like large companies like DreamWorks or Paramount, because we want to focus on the realism of storytelling and rather than just using big effects. Secondly, after releasing it in theaters, I think we would distribute it through common streaming platforms such as Netflix or Amazon Prime, because many teen movies can be found on those type of streaming services, allowing it to reach a much wider audience and become accessible to a lot more people. Now, since our intended audience is targeted towards teens and young adults, we know that those age groups tend to be on social media. Therefore, marketing would rely heavily on social media. Short teaser trailers and clips that highlight the friendship yet tension in this movie would be shared on big platforms like Instagram, TikTok, and YouTube. You see a lot of coming of age films promote themselves in this way, such as Forever and
XOXO Kitty.
Oh yeah, that too. They know that their film will quickly circulate and attract the attention of a wide audience through likes, comments, and shares. So I tend to promote my movie the same way. Finally, I would also have my actors in the movie go on every interview opportunity like ever, like The Tonight Show starring Jimmy Fallon, or even like fun interviews like Teen Vogue. Yeah, I know that I get inspired to watch a movie after seeing a funny clip of an interview, so I would assume that people my age would do the same. It's a matter of not only promoting the actors, but the movie as well. Because every good film needs a good cast, am I right?
Right.
Now we're gonna try a new donut. This is French toast, I think. 3, 2, 1. This one's pretty good.
Third question from Robbie Patel 0126. As an inspiring film director, your film opening gave me so much inspiration. How did your production skills develop throughout this project? How have you grown as a filmmaker, and what have you learned?
That's great to hear, Robbie. Throughout this entire project of researching, planning, filming, and editing, I personally think I've grown a lot, like my production skills and as a filmmaker in general. One of the most important skills that I've developed was learning how to cut and arrange clips effectively on the editing timeline. At first, my editing felt messy and they weren't continuous. But after a lot of practice and playing with the editing software, I learned how to trim clips precisely, cut on action, and remove unnecessary footage. I also learned how to layer sound, music, and text without overcrowding the film in general. Speaking of sound and music, I learned how to download music from YouTube and import it into the editing software that I use. I also experimented with adjusting audio levels so sound effects and voiceover weren't so, how do I say it, drowned by the music. I really enjoyed playing around with the sound so it made sense as you watch the ending of our opening. This taught me how important sound is in building mood and tension, especially in the opening of a film. I also learned how to add titles, choose the right font, and change the font color and placement. Through experimenting, I realized how typography can influence a film. But I didn't like how time-consuming it was. Like, this entire process, it was a lot. But seeing how small design changes can significantly improve the final product was totally worth it. Like the difference between using a pastel yellow rather than just plain white in my text made the film feel more alive and added to the summer aesthetic. Finally, I learned how to export the final film from my iPad, and even though I didn't upload it to YouTube, Sneha, who did, showed me how she embedded the video online. It helped me see my project as something more than just an assignment. It was a true production made by a great team who put in a lot of effort for an audience to enjoy.
Now, do you see yourself doing this type of stuff in the future?
I mean, I was always interested in the field of videography and even anything that had to do with cameras, really. And I've always dreamed about making my own short film or even a music video. This entire process of working on this project has made me really appreciate the beauty of film from my own creation. It truly has inspired me to maybe look deeper into this type of career. It brought out creative sides to me that I didn't even know I had. However, if you're asking me if I would actually become a filmmaker, my answer would be no, because this career requires a lot of trial and error, and to become a successful filmmaker, you would have to have the most abstract ideas, which is something I don't have.
Last question from Sasha Imani. Your movie opening was so cool to watch. How did you integrate technologies like software, hardware, and online in this project?
Thank you so much, Sasha. Okay, so for the camera, I use a Sony ZV-E10. Yeah, a Sony ZV-E10 to film my movie opening. And I also learned how to manually adjust settings such as the focus and shutter speed. However, if I'm being completely honest, we did rely a lot on auto mode. But it doesn't mean I didn't learn nothing. I did learn how important framing was. For example, in the sunset scene, we made the characters stand in the center of the camera, almost emphasizing the fact that they feel that the world is theirs, or they're the only ones in this carefree memory. To shoot camera shots like the ones in my film, my group used a Manfrotto Mark I tripod. Yeah, it was that. To keep our film steady and professional. I learned how to properly set up a tripod for different types of shots, such as a static cowboy shot and a pan. For post-production, I basically was the main editor, and I used CapCut to edit my footage. Like I said, I learned how to cut clips for pacing, apply transitions, adjust saturation and brightness, and layer sound effects to build suspense. Editing taught me how much impact timing and sound design have on how a viewer perceives a film. I also use online resources like YouTube to import sound effects and music, like the Kesha song and the sound of the heartbeat and the flatline. I also use tutorials and reference clips to help me through my technical problems and improve my editing skills. I would say these resources helped me learn a lot of new techniques so that I can apply them to my own project, and maybe later on I can start doing independent work myself.
Well, that's all the questions we had today.
If you want more Q&A videos about my movie opening, please feel free to drop a comment and maybe you'll be featured in the next one. Bye everyone!